Welcome to Half 2-4. Today in the show, a shock on the British Isles. Thomas Tuchel has officially announced England's World Cup squad and left five-star playmakers at home, including Foden and Palmer. The end of a great dynasty in Manchester. Pep Guardiola officially leaves Manchester City, and his place is taken by Enzo Maresca on a 3-year contract. Also today, the quietest boardroom revolution at Old Trafford. Michael Carrick officially signs a 2-year deal with Manchester United. A schoolboy grudge worth hundreds of millions, while Liverpool demonstratively ignored Xabi Alonso and gave him to London's Chelsea, where the Basque is already building the spine of the team for 200 million euros. We talk about all this and much more right now.
Things up in your life,
Michael Carrick, Manchester United. Contract until 2028 with an option until 2029. Officially, the man who came in January to put out the fire now stays to build the house. And you know what? This is probably the first sensible coaching news from Old Trafford in a very long time. Let us recall the context. Carrick came in January after the dismissal of Ruben Amorim to a club that sat in 7th place, 17 points behind the leader. The situation was a catastrophe. But in 5 months, the picture has changed drastically. 16 matches in the Premier League, 11 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats. 3rd place in the table. A ticket to the next season's Champions League already in the bag. Carrick himself said, "Bearing the responsibility of managing this special club fills me with immense pride. Over these 5 months, this group of players has shown what it can achieve." And now a figure that speaks for itself. Carrick has become the first permanent manager of MU in the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era to be given only a 2-year contract. Van Gaal, 3 years, kicked out in a year. Jose Mourinho, 3 years, could not endure. Solskjaer, 3 years, left ahead of schedule. Ten Hag, the same thing. INEOS made conclusions and decided fewer commitments, more flexibility. Honestly, this is the quietest and most correct news from Manchester in years. Without loud names, without a transfer circus, just a coach who came into chaos and made order. A 2-year contract, this is both modesty and wisdom. Want more, earn an extension. Whether Carrick will pull United back to the top remains an open question. But at least the club is finally acting out of logic rather than panic. Now let us move to the blue part of Manchester. The head coach of Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, has officially announced that he is leaving the club at the end of this season. 10 incredible years at the Etihad, 21 trophies, and a complete revolution in football are reaching their final chord. In one day, we received 3 historical news items at once. The emotional speech of the Spaniard, the appearance of a new boss, and the grand immortalization of Pep's name at the stadium itself. While the citizens' fans wipe away tears en masse, the boardrooms have already launched a new era. First, the figures, because we cannot do without them. In 10 years, Guardiola won 20 trophies with City's 6 Premier League titles, the Champions League, 3 FA Cups, and 5 League Cups. No manager in the history of the Premier League has a better trophy per season record, not even Sir Alex Ferguson. This is not an opinion, this is mathematics. And here's what Pep himself said on parting. We worked, we suffered, we fought, and we did things our own way, our way. Don't ask me the reasons I'm leaving, there is no reason. But deep inside I feel my time has come. Nothing eternal exists. If it did, I would have stayed. Eternal will remain the feelings, the people, the memories, and the love for my Manchester City. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for pushing me forward. Thank you for loving me. And finally, be happy. The club management immediately announced a monumental decision. The newly developed and expanded North Stand of the Etihad Stadium will from now on be named the Pep Guardiola Stand. This is concrete, steel, and the name of a legend that will remain in history forever. Now, who is next? Fabrizio Romano confirmed Enzo Maresca has reached a total verbal agreement with Manchester City, a 3-year contract. Maresca was always considered the ideal candidate to replace Guardiola. And here is why it makes sense. He managed City's youth team, then returned as an assistant to Guardiola and helped win the historic treble in 2022-2023. After that, he won the Conference League and the Club World Cup with Chelsea. The man knows how to win and knows the club from the inside. Pep Guardiola is first and foremost the main innovator of our generation. In his time, he created that same incredible tiki-taka with which opponents for years simply did not know what to do. Yes, now football has seriously changed, become more athletic, but it was Pep's ideas that set the trends for the development of the game for decades to ahead. The Stand with his name is an absolutely pragmatic recognition of his boardroom and sporting merits. Enzo Maresca now enters a structure where all processes are set up perfectly. So the main task of the Italian is simply not to break this working mechanism. The work is hard, but Enzo knows the system from the inside.
A different way of playing, but
Foden is out, Palmer is out, Trent is out. Thomas Tuchel has officially blown up the information space on the British Isles by announcing the final squad of the England national team for the 2026 World Cup. The list of those whom the German tactician left behind the airplane looks far more star-studded and interesting than the passenger manifest. However, Tuchel turned out to be a true boardroom gentleman. He did not hide from the press, but personally telephoned each dropped leader to directly explain his strict motives. Let us start with the most painful one for England fans. Cole Palmer, who was recognized as the Player of the Year in the national team based on the results of 2024, is not going to the World Cup due to a huge dip in form and a series of 14 consecutive matches without goals for club and country. A similar picture is seen with Phil Foden, an unstable year at Manchester City and a mere 22 appearances in the Premier League starting lineup. Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest also missed the squad despite his career record of 17 scored goals. Thomas Tuchel himself explained such a harsh boardroom clearance very pragmatically. There were difficult phone calls. For some of them, it's just a positional thing to have a balanced squad so we don't bring 5 number 10s. Even if it was painful, I think it was the right call for England. Such ruthless logic also touched the defense. The longtime pillar of the defense, Harry Maguire, has already managed to write publicly on social media about his complete devastation. Along with him, Fikayo Tomori, Luke Shaw, Lewis Hall, and the star Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has not been called up to the team since last summer, found themselves out of the squad. The coach also crossed out Adam Wharton, Jared Bowen, and Alex Scott. On the other hand, the main surprise was the call-up of Ivan Toney. The forward had previously played only 1 minute as a substitute under Tuchel, but this season he bagged a crazy 32 goals in the Saudi Pro League, and the coach decided that blistering goal-scoring form is more important than the status of the league. Besides him, the German brought back the experienced John Stones, found a place for the young Nico O'Reilly, and unexpectedly called up Jordan Henderson from Brentford. The coach is assembling a fighting unit solely according to his own vision of football. My opinion? I openly like this approach. Thomas Tuchel came to the national team not to collect star cards in an album or to please the press. To turn down 5 playmakers for the sake of tactical balance is a bold grandmaster move. Behind this decision stands clear boardroom logic, not emotions. Whether this pragmatic plan will work against elite opponents at the World Cup, we will find out very soon. However, a huge scandal on the British Isles has flared up even before the start of the first match. In any case, as always with England. And what do you think, friends? Will Tuchel win the World Cup without Palmer and Foden, or will the British press eat him alive at the first tactical slip-up? Liverpool passionately wanted Xabi Alonso, but the Spaniard did not come back then. The management of the Merseyside club took demonstrative offense, and when this summer the Basque signed an official contract with London's Chelsea, the bosses of Liverpool simply pretended as if nothing had happened and kept Arne Slot. But let us call things by their true names. This is not professional sports management of a top club. This is a banal schoolboy grudge that cost the Reds the hottest manager in Europe. Let us look at the pure facts. The year 2024, Jurgen Klopp announces his departure, and the FSG company begins frantic searches for a successor. Alonso at that moment had just created an absolute miracle with Leverkusen's Bayer, completing an unbeaten golden double in the Bundesliga. Logically, He became the primary transfer target for Merseyside. However, Xabi refused then. He politely asked not to consider his candidacy in the summer of 2024 because he wanted to work one more season in Germany, after which, as we know, transit through a vacancy landed him at Real Madrid. This is an absolutely normal practice when an elite specialist manages his own career himself, especially when Santiago Bernabeu awaits him. But according to information from the authoritative publication The Telegraph, this refusal left too deep a boardroom mark in the heads of the American owners of Liverpool. The club authorities took offense at the coach, to whom they did not even have time to make an official financial offer. Journalists directly state Alonso's reluctance to instantly replace Klopp, in contrast to Arne Slot's frantic enthusiasm for this challenge, still continues to seriously influence the management's thinking. It turns out that Slot got the job only because he raised his hand first, while Alonso was crossed off the radars because of having his own strategy. The consequences we see right now: Liverpool completely failed the season, finishing in 5th place in the Premier League and crashing out of European competitions against PSG. The stands of Anfield directly demanded the return of Xabi, who had just freed up after Madrid. The ideal moment for a legend's comeback? Only not for the offended boardroom of FSG. The bosses flatly refused to even call the Spaniard, but London's Chelsea did not think long and instantly signed a 4-year contract with Alonso. I think this is one of the most foolish examples of club management in recent years. To expect that an elite coach after Real will call the office himself and beg for forgiveness for once choosing his own path is infantilism. Now the darling of Anfield will manage a direct and very dangerous competitor in the person of the Blues. Liverpool remains at a broken trough with Arne Slot, whose contract they are not even rushing to extend, while the American owners continue to pretend that everything is under control. While the bosses of Liverpool take offense, Xabi Alonso has not even had time to conduct his first training session at London's Chelsea base, but already knows exactly around whom he will build his new tactical system. 3 elite names, 3 deficit positions, and 3 specific problems that the Spaniard is going to solve with a single boardroom maneuver: Osimhen, Mignon, and Diomande. According to information from the authoritative portal Caught Offside, if the management of the Blues satisfies this ultimatum, an entirely new and cast-iron force will appear on the British Isles. Let us break down each choice of the Spanish coach in detail, because a clear grandmaster logic can be traced here. At the tip of the attack, Victor Osimhen is secured as the main transfer target. The Nigerian provides exactly what Londoners have catastrophically lacked in recent years: total chaos in the penalty box, aggression, speed, and a guaranteed fear factor for Premier League defenders. Last summer, the Istanbul club Galatasaray blew up the market and completed a record transfer of the striker for 75 million euros. Now, after another splendid season and a bunch of scored goals in Turkey, the Istanbulites are ready to let their main star go to England, but will demand no less than 100 million euros for the transfer. The second critically important element of the system is the goalkeeper position, where Alonso demands the signing of the leader of Italian AC Milan, Mike Mignon. The French goalkeeper is already 30 years old. He has crazy experience of playing at the top level and exemplary composure. The role of a goalkeeper who flawlessly builds the play from the back and simultaneously controls his entire penalty box is not just a whim for Xabi's football, but a tactical necessity. Robert Sanchez had good spells, but his consistency left much to be desired. Mignon is pure reliability, for which a serious commercial package will have to be laid out. The third name on the list is the center back of Lisbon Sporting, Ousmane Diomande. This lad recently shocked European competitions by delivering a trademark Trivela through ball across the entire pitch, which nearly buried the defense of Arsenal. That is to say, he is not just a powerful athlete, but a modern defender with the thinking and passing culture of an elite midfielder. He fits ideally into the philosophy of ball control that Alonso previously established in Leverkusen and Madrid. I think in recent years, Todd Boehly spent hundreds of millions of euros on purchasing young prospective talents, but at the output got a raw team without leaders and stability under pressure. Xabi Alonso's request is a fundamentally different, grown-up approach. Osimhen up front, Mignon in the frame, and Diomande in the center of defense. This is a ready-winning spine worth over 200 million euros. With such a foundation, the London club instantly turns from a prospective project into a real title contender. The question is only whether the boardroom culture of the Blues will withstand the demands of its new manager, or whether the boardrooms will start dictating their strange conditions again. Welcome to the season finale at Real Madrid. Before you is a real football melodrama. The final episode. A large-scale cleanup has begun at the club. Head coach Alvaro Arbeloa and defender Dani Carvajal are leaving the Santiago Bernabeu at the same time. However, as a parting gesture, Carvajal organized a lavish dinner for absolutely the entire team, players, staff, and even the cleaners from the Valdebebas base. An official invitation was received by everyone except one person. Head coach Alvaro Arbeloa was left overboard, which exposed a total split in the dressing room of the Blancos. Let us break down the details of this Madrid soap opera, because here every action has a clear logic. On the 18th of May, the Royal Club announced that 34-year-old Dani Carvajal is leaving the squad after the end of the season. And already 2 days later, a parting dinner of revenge took place without the coach. This is a clear public message. Arbeloa took charge of the first team in January as an interim manager after the departure of Xabi Alonso. However, the experiment of Florentino Perez failed. 0 trophies, an exit from Bayern in the Champions League quarterfinals, and losing second place in La Liga to Barcelona. What is more, Alvaro kept the club legend on the bench all season, giving full preference to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Due to a lack of practice, Carvajal, who gave 13 years of his life to Madrid and won 27 trophies, flew past the England World Cup squad call-up list. The finale of his career at Real Madrid without starting and without a trip to the World Cup generated crazy tension between the coach and the Spanish core of the team. Now, Jose Mourinho is coming to this Real Madrid. The official announcement is expected on Sunday or Monday, immediately after the final round. According to information from the publication AS, the main mission of the Portuguese general is to make Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. finally work as one team, rather than putting on 2 parallel egoistical shows. The bosses made it clear, the Frenchman and the Brazilian are untouchable. Their sale is not even discussed. Jose must ensure their effective interaction in attack without detriment to the defense. Against this background, the management is preparing a contract extension with Vinicius until the summer of 2027. They want to close the deal secretly, even before the start of the World Cup. Considering that Mbappe's contract is valid until the 30th of June 2029, Mourinho receives a long-term carte blanche. Listen, this is something symbolic. A season in which Real Madrid changed 2 coaches, lost the legend Carvajal, and did not win a single trophy, ends with a dinner without the head coach. You cannot think of a more eloquent end. Mourinho steps into a dressing room where there is already its own hierarchy, its own grudges, and its own coalitions. If anyone can bring order there by slamming his fist on the table, it is him. Or he will cause even greater chaos. It is always like that with Jose. It certainly will not be boring.